Hi everyone, today we are going to, just put my light on, I think, it was on, sorry. Today we're going to be colouring this picture here. This is from the Disney Thomas Kinkade Disney Princess colouring book. It's actually the very last picture in the book, and it has boat flamingos and different bits and pieces, so I thought it would be fun to have a go at. In fact, I was asked to do this one by the person who gave me the book, so I thought I would do so. I'm not really sure where to start. I grabbed my Arteza Expert Pencils. I feel that it's easier to replicate this sort of oil painting style by using a more, I don't know the word, maybe they're oily pencils, waxy pencils, I don't know. These sorts of pencils just seem to work better. I think I'm just going to start with the tree. Now we have this white blossom here, which I'm actually going to do in white pen, but we have these lights in the tree, and we have the tree. I'm going to try and zoom in a bit. I want to leave the tree that we're copying. Sorry for that scrapey noise, that's my pencil. Ugh, didn't like that at all. So we're going to try and copy this. Now we've got the lights. We'll do those first, I think, because unless we use gel pen, which we could, I shall use a bit, I expect, and we can't really replicate that on top of the green. So I'm just going to do it first with some pale yellows. So just having a look at what we've got. Our palest yellow, the page is going to come up. In fact, I could put something down on it. There we go. We have a Sapphire Yellow, which is our palest yellow. Quite far away, I don't know how well you can see. And it's not as creamy as that colour, but I'm just going to use it anyway. Oh, it's quite pale, isn't it? I haven't put a piece of paper behind this page because it just goes onto the cover behind, but I have put a whole book. This is Ivy and the Inky Butterfly that I've put behind, just to give it some support because it's the very last page. So I'm just going round and round trying to get some colour. Now it's a little bit orangey around the edge of each of these, so probably a little bit tricky for you to see. So what I think I'm going to do, is take the Sunflower Yellow, which is more of an orangey yellow, and just do a little bit around the edge. Now where we've got this thick black line, it doesn't, obviously none of the black lines appear in the original picture. And I don't want to take out all of the black lines because it's a lot of work, and I don't always think it's absolutely necessary. I think I'll make that do. But what I am going to do with these particular lights is take out some of the lines. I'm just looking at, here we are, I'm trying to find my right pens. I'm going to use the Posca, it's quite thick, PC1MR. And what I'm going to do is just go around this central part here with the white Posca. It probably won't completely take rid of that black line. It's looking a bit watery actually. And then I don't think I'm going to go around the outside. I started to there. What I'm going to do, because it's a really dark green that we've got going on, and put a bit of white in the middle as well, because it's a really dark green that we've got going on here. Well, it might just fade back anyway. Now within this tree we have some sky. There's a bit here and a bit here and here, so I'm going to try and leave those bits out, but I'm looking at my picture and I'm not seeing them all. There's a little gap there in the drawing, some here, but then we don't have a gap until here, so some of those sky bits aren't there. So I think I'm going to use the basic structure and follow that rather than worrying too much about getting it identical. So I'm just going to start with a really dark green. The sage green seems one of the darker greens, and I'm just going to go over all of the tree bits with the dark green. I'm just going to move that out of the way, which I was using to hold the page down. And now I'm going to just hold it with my hand. Now it's a little tricky with this book because it doesn't go all the way to the edge of the page. You could draw in that line with a ruler so you know how far to go, or else you get a sort of ragged edge effect, which is what I'm going to get. Now because this is a tree, if you look in the original picture, we've got a few sort of leaf shapes going on. So I'm going to do this sort of up and downy movement as I colour, and hopefully it'll look a little bit like it's this, I mean it looks like a willow because it's hanging down over the water, but willows aren't this dark normally, but I guess perhaps it's night, I don't really know. But I'm going to do all of the tree like this, and then add in some other colours after. So don't worry if you go over the lines, because the whole of the tree will be the same colour. Now in the picture we've got this little tendril bit coming down here. It's not drawn in this one. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep it simple as the picture is drawn. I think it makes it easier. I'm not going to try and replicate the original. As I said when I did my last page from this book, that is an oil painting, and this is a pencil colouring. I'm never going to get it to look the same, so I'm just going to have a chilled and relaxed approach and just have fun with it and do my best really. So the other picture I did from the book, in case you didn't see, was the gosh, I'm trying to remember now. It was the Snow White's cottage, that's right. And this one's from The Little Mermaid 2, a film I haven't seen. I do like Disney, but I haven't watched any for a while. My children were never into Disney apart from Pixar. Being boys, they weren't into the Disney princesses, and actually I remember my son watching Frozen and crying. He hated it. The bit where gosh, I don't know their names, Anna or Elsa, one of the girls nearly dies. My son was crying. He gets so emotional. He's decided he just hates films because he gets so upset. So he didn't like it. So and he also cried at Toy Story 3 when they got thrown into the back of the dust cart. So he used to like watching Cars. That was a bit less emotional. But he just doesn't like the way films play at your emotions. Even at 16, he just won't go to the cinema. Just not wanting to go. And that's absolutely fine with me. It's his choice. Yeah. So what I'm going to do with this, once I've finished all the sage, is add in a few other colours. There are some darker greens, and there are some black I might put in. I'm just having a look to have a think and decide what I'm going to do. And I think this sort of up and downy movement works quite well, because if you look at this picture, that it goes that way, the clouds will go across, so it will add some sort of contrast to the sky, which I don't know what colours I'm going to use for that. Now I don't know my Artezas brilliantly well, not as well as some of my other sets of pencils, so I might not be excellent at picking the exact colour match, but as I say, I'm not really going to worry about it too much. Now, I'm not thinking that this looks very much like that, like lights, but I'm not, to be honest. I've not had much success. I tried to do some lights in a Christmas picture that I was colouring once. It was a Johanna Basford wreath and picture. I think it's the poinsettias that she has in her Christmas book. And I thought I would do some Christmas lights around the edge of it. And I looked at a Chris Cheng video where she did lights, a bit like this sort of style. And so I tried to copy hers, and it just looked awful. It was a disaster. So, and normally I can follow her videos and copy her, and it works brilliantly. It just didn't work. So I had to cover them up. So luckily I did them on the outside of the wreath, as if there was, I wanted it to look like there was a set of fairy lights draped around the outside. So I had to cover it up. So my picture ended up with a border of gold Posca pen. Quite festive. But I just couldn't rescue it. It just didn't look right. And I have a feeling this might be the same, but we'll see. Until I've done all the branches and things, it's going to be difficult to know quite how it's going to work, really. There's a lot, isn't there? A lot of this tree. I guess not quite as much as there is of water. It's going to take some time. I know some people find water a little tricky, but I find the trickiest bit I find is choosing the right colour for water. Here we don't need to do that. We've got the colour. It's very pretty. I like these blues. I think, yeah, we've got a few blues that will work for that sort of colour too, so that's good. Sometimes never know whether to do it sort of swampy green or a bluey green or just a blue. You know, it's always quite tricky. But and then where to put the white highlights as well. We've got some really pretty pink here as well. So I'm going to have to be careful because I haven't got a light pink pen. If you had a light pink pen, you could go over all paint. But I don't have that, so I'm going to have to plan that well. But that's okay. I don't think I've got a pink that colour at all, that pale. So we'll just have to make do. I'm just going to sharpen. I just have to make do with what we want. I've just been having a think because now I'm in my new colouring space. Because I only record in this colouring space and I colour in the evenings with in the same room as my family. Oh, sorry, that was a loud clatter, wasn't it? That lead actually broke. Never mind. There are certain things that I carry back and forth. Books, that's fine. And camera, when I'm editing and things, that's fine. But I don't want to be carrying back and forth everything. And sets of pencils. So there are things that I use a lot all the time, like this this brush and Posca Pens and Tombow erasers, which I thought might be useful to have duplicates of because they're not massively expensive. So I was just making myself a little shopping list. Now I think this bit here is the other plant. That bit's a bit of sky, so I'm going to move on to this bit. But that plant doesn't go all the way up to there in this picture. That's a bit of tree. So anyway, so I was just making myself a little list of the little extra bits and pieces that I think will be useful to me in here, and to have duplicates of. Obviously, not expensive things. Although I had to buy a second lamp, which is a big expense. Obviously, I'm trying to decide where to make the edge of my page because the book bends around here. I think I'm just going to do the very edge of that and make that do. I don't want to go too far down there into that spine bit because it's on an angle. But I'm pretty sure this bit is going to be, I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I am. I think this bit is going to be this tree. I'm going to do it as this tree. It's definitely not all sky. That bit of sky I think is that bit. It's not always, the pictures aren't always exact duplicates. So if it had been me, I would have traced the main items and then sort of redrawn them in a easy to copy. I've got a hard line there. It's to do with the book that's underneath, but I can adjust that in a minute. So yeah, had it been me, I would have traced the picture and then redrawn the sort of main shapes in a more simplistic way, but they didn't do it like that. Okay, so there's our first green. Oh, I'm trying not to make a horrible noise. Now I've got a forest green. I'm just going to test it out. I haven't got my pad of paper with me. See, it's something else I have to carry back and forth and I've forgotten to bring it in. But I'm going to use the forest green to add some darker bits. If I don't snap the lead off in my sharpener. I just did. Maybe that I'm in need of a new blade, I'm not sure. I just noticed these little ducks. You only see the heads down at the bottom there. Look how cute they are. I haven't, as I said, I'm just leaving it there. It's got a sharp edge. What I think I'm going to do is put some of this sort of on the edges. It's not that much darker, is it? Maybe I'll just put some stripes in and it will just help to start giving it some sort of texture. I realise in the picture we've got that sort of directional bits. We'll do that in a minute. We'll just add in some stripes. I think it will just start to add some dark depth. That's it. It's nice and easy then. Now we haven't really got a really, really dark green as far as I can see. Oh, we've got that one. Actually got a Jade Green. That looks dark. So normally I've got my pad of paper in here. I can do a little scribble and see what it looks like. And yes, I probably do need a swatch chart. I'm succumbing. I have put one on my wish list while I think about it. And I've been adding bits and bobs on there. I don't like to make impulse purchases. I don't do that. I'm not that sort of person. I did with my Posca pencils, but normally I don't. So I pop them on there and have a think. And, you know, usually it turns out that I do get the things, but buy them eventually. But this Jade Green looks quite dark. I think what I'm going to do with this is start to mark out some of these lines. Now on this, the lighter colour is the shape of the leaf, but that's going to be difficult. So what I'm going to do is actually draw on with this. It's not going to show up very well. It's just do some directional leaves and bits and pieces. I think would be better off with black. I'll do that and get my black out in a minute. We'll just add, I think it makes it look better if you've got a few different colours. Oh, excuse me. Hi, I am back now, having answered the telephone. I'm trying to think about what I was doing. I think I was just adding a few bits and bobs of lines, wasn't I? Basically, the phone rang, as you may have heard, and I was on the phone for an hour having a nice natter with my mum. What I'm doing here is I'm just really putting a lot of dark lines on top of what's there already. We had a chat, which was nice, and then it was lunchtime, so I grabbed some toast. And now I'm back trying to remember what on earth I was doing. But I'm just, as I say, adding some lines, mainly straight here, but a few directional ones as well. I think I was doing this sort of shape before, but it wasn't really showing up. I think I'm going to go in with some black in a bit. And just, yeah, I'm going to do that now. Needs some dark, and these just aren't really quite dark enough. I'm just looking at what I've got. I've got a charcoal grey and a black. I think I'm just going to go with a black. It looks really black. And I'm just having a look at what has been done here. It's basically we've got bits of black which are in the background. And it sort of, but this now looks like it's in the foreground, not the background. But I'm just going to give it a go and put some black lines in and just see what happens, really. Maybe I should have started with black. I don't know. Anyways, let's just keep going. So I'm afraid I've got no idea what I was talking about to you before. I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm back. And yeah, I was feeling a little bit stressed having lunch. I don't know why. I started just thinking, you know, when you get thinking about things and worrying. So now I'm back here, I'm feeling fine. It's rather nice what an impact colouring. I'm trying to work out if that bit is behind or not. I don't know. I'm just going to put some black in. What an impact colouring has. It just immediately, I can feel the stress leaving my body. It's amazing. I don't know if it does the same for you. And a bit of concentration on a more difficult page like this one can help as well, because you can't think about anything else. I'm sort of thinking about when I'm talking. But you've got to concentrate on the old page. And, you know, get going with that and not think too much about anything else. So that's good. But anyway, yeah, I was having a quick chat with my sister as well on Facebook Messenger. My mum gave me a bit of family gossip, which I won't share. Not that you don't know the people anyway. So, and we were talking about it. And then she was talking about her car, as she's having problems with her car again. She has a lot of problems with her various cars, and we don't seem to get that. I don't know if we're just lucky, but we do buy more expensive cars. We're lucky enough to be able to afford to, you know, buy a more modern car. Perhaps that just means it's likely to be more reliable. but not being a driver myself, I don't know. It was something, there were a few things I gave up doing because they were just so stressful, and driving was one of them, and a particular job was another one, and I just couldn't cope with it, and so I gave it up. Actually, I haven't worked outside of the house since, but it's tricky. That it makes me feel stressed sometimes that I'm not working so much as my husband, and that I'm not you know, not earning as much. But I don't think I could earn as much as him. You know, he reckons I could. He's, oh, you could go and be a project manager. I've never been a project manager. I have no qualifications, no training. I was a project coordinator, you know, but he doesn't put pressure on me to earn more money, which is nice. I quite like the effect that I've got there with the black. I am wondering about these black lines, and I think I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow under each one of them, and then I think it will look like we've got layers of leaves, or well, I guess they are leaves, aren't they? Got some lovely willow trees around here. Very lucky. I love willow. Reminds me of when I was at primary school, just a few years ago, you know. My friend had a willow in her garden. There was a swing, not a swing, a rope, like a rope swing on it. It used to have great fun. I remember saying to my mum, can we have a tree in our garden? As if you could just plant a fully grown tree in a garden and there you go. I mean, obviously you can buy them fully grown, but really. My mum was like, no, we took out all the trees in the garden when we moved in because we didn't want the roots getting under our house. I was like, good point. I mean, this friend, she had a bigger garden. The tree was quite far away from the house. But I just really liked having a willow. It was gorgeous. Tree in the garden, but we have some at the end of our road, so whenever we leave the house, well, we can go both directions in our road. One takes us just up the canal path and the other towards town, which is the route I normally take, and we pass a lovely group of willow trees which are looking particularly pretty at this time of the year. Now you may look at this and think you'd rather have done this in green, but I just don't think it would have stood out very well. But I think it might looked a bit less dirty, perhaps. But I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave that there and move on to this bit of plant here. Now some of this is sky and some of this is plant. Looking over here, it's a little bit muddled. So I'm just going to do the best I can. And this plant looks an identical colour to this tree. But I'm not going to do so many different colours in it because I want it to look different. So I should put down my black. What should we grab? Let's start with a Basil Green. That's quite a nice shade. That's, you know, why not? So this is the Basil. And I'm going to do all of this greenery in the Basil. See, it's quite pale. I don't mind that it's a different shade to what's in the picture, but I will darken it up a little bit because obviously it needs to give the same sort of overall atmosphere and impression as the picture. Now the flowers are white and pink and they sort of look like splodged paint. I am going to leave the gaps where the flowers are going. I was going to say I'm just going to do it all green and then add the flowers on top, but I don't know whether these Arteza pencils will absorb the pigment, will absorb whether the I don't know whether the pigment from the pencil will absorb into the white pen, and if it does that it won't look white, it will look green. So I'm actually going to leave the white space, but I will put a white pen on top and hopefully create a sort of splodgy look. We'll see what happens. I'm not really sure quite what's going on here. We've got water here but we've got no gap. I'm just going to put a bit of green in there. I'm just going to guess. We have to do a bit of guesswork. That's definitely sky. So we'll leave that as sky. And we'll take this green. Now we've got a bit of sky. I'm going to leave that as sky. I might just take it to there, like that. I'm just sort of making a decision. I can't, you know, I've just got to guess a little bit. I don't think it matters. Now this plant is less liney, I'm colouring it in lines, but it's more round and round leaves, so I really should be colouring it like this to give more of a round leafy impression. I don't know if I'm making sense. The sun is shining. I think we're okay. If it gets too strong, cast too much of a shadow, I will have to shut my new blind and we will see how that works out. I think it's shadowing my, so we've got a shadow of the tripod here, but I think it might be okay, but I don't know. I'm going to see if it stays out because it's forecast to be cloudy today, so it may just not stay around for long. So that's my basic, and I'm going to go over, as I say, with a darker colour. Just having a look. I've got the Fern Green. I think that might be a good one. It's a different shade to what we've used already, so the sun's already fading away. And see if it sits on top. Sometimes they don't layer up too well, these Arteza, but I don't know if it's this paper, to be honest. It's the first time I've used the Arteza in this book. I've written this, yeah, I did a polychromos picture, and I did a, what did I use for the other one? I've got no idea. Maybe it was polychromos as well, I don't know. Can't remember. So, oh, I used Derwent Lightfast. So I haven't used Arteza in this book. So papers do vary. I'm beginning to realise, I always thought, oh, paper, it doesn't make any difference. But I always use the same polys, and they seem to work with most paper. There. I'm not going to make that any darker. This isn't as dark as this anyway, so I don't think it hurts. I'm going to leave it. If I've done the sky and then I think it's not quite looking right, then I may change, sorry about this shadow, then I may change my mind, but I'm going to do the sky. So I'm going to move you along a bit, although we've got a bit of sky in the tree. We'll try and get it all in. There we go. Now the sky, you can see we've got a light bluey colour here, bits of clouds. There's a circle drawn here, which I've got no idea what that is here, and sort of pinks and greys. So I'm going to start with this sort of bluey colour at the top. I'm going to ignore the lines that are drawn on there because they are in completely the wrong place compared to, I mean, what's that? And the castle is much lower than here. The flag goes right to the top. Maybe that is because our top of the page is there. So excuse me, I'm just going to do my best and see what happens. So that sort of bluey colour, I think I'm going to use the Peacock Blue. It's a really pretty blue anyway. So even if it isn't quite the right shade, it's going to be rather pretty. And use that for this sort of top blue layer. And I'm going to do it in a side-to-side motion because our clouds go across. So I think, and try and get a sort of reasonable line. That'll do. And you can see in this picture the blue goes, it's quite a good imitation of that blue actually. It's quite a close colour like that. I'm fading it a little bit, making it, I'm going to make it, that bit isn't blue is it? Never mind. I'm going to try and make it dark here and fade it a bit because I'm going to mix in another colour. And right at the bottom we've got a bit of blue, and I'm just going to go with a light bit like that. That bit's purple. The bits in the trees are purple, so I'm not going to do that at the minute. So that's the blue, and here we've got quite a grey bluey colour going on. So I think I'm going to use this pencil. This is the Periwinkle Blue. You can see it's more of a grey blue, and sort of blend into that. This is quite blunt, but it might serve us well, or it might not. Be all right until we try and, no, let's give it a sharpen until we get to the castle and have to go around that. Okay, let's, now I have got some clouds going on. I'll draw those on in a bit. We'll sort of just mix that up a bit. I think it looks okay. As I say, it's not exact. It's not, we can't get exact. And we sort of go into a purple. I'm just going to fade that down a bit. And then I'm also going to just go up a bit here with this. We've got a few patches of blue here and here. Can you see here and here? I don't know how well you can see with me zoomed so far out. Okay, and we've got some grey and then some purple. So I think I'll grab a grey first. I'm going to make sure it is a cold grey, not a browny grey. So yeah, I'm just scribbling it on a bit of paper to check. I didn't want to make that mistake. So I'm going to sort of put a bit of grey here, just a tad. That's quite the colour I wanted. But there we go. That'll do. Just put a bit up there. Yeah, that'll do. And now we want a really pale purple. We have a great deal of purples. I think I'm going to have to use the lavender. It's actually a lot paler than it looks if you see the tip. So let's go for it really gently. Don't want lots and lots of purple. So here it's more purple and it sort of looks like clouds. Oops. And here, yeah, it's a bit paler. I'm just going to put it all over really, I think. And it's definitely purple in these gaps here. There isn't really one here that I can see in this picture. What I gather is there are some books like this in the Disney Thomas Kinkade series which have bigger pictures, where the picture includes more of the original painting than these. These are sort of cut down versions, and maybe in those you get to see a bit more about what should be, it may be included higher up or whatever. I'm thinking this could all do with just smooshing together with a pale colour, and I'm thinking I could use a white. Have I got a white in here? I've got a luminance white, but I could try the Arteza white. I don't know whether the Arteza white works. I'm just going to clean the end off of the white because it's red. And I'm thinking if I go all over and sort of blend the sky together, oh, that's working nicely. That's what I wanted. And it'll give more of the sort of mixed effect. All these colours smushing together. You could use a blending pencil, but if you've got an Arteza set, you'll have the white. If you're not using Arteza, you might not find the white you've got is as good. Some whites just don't work very well at all, even if used as a blender like we are. And some whites work brilliantly. So it just really depends. So I've got some Caran d'Ache Luminance whites which I bought because they work really well, and I use them sometimes when I want to lighten something like I am here, and the white in the set I've got doesn't work. So Polychromos whites, unfortunately, Castle Arts whites and Staedtler Ergosoft whites, in my experience, don't work brilliantly, but I haven't persevered, I should add, and I haven't tried them on coloured paper. I'm sure they probably work quite well on a tinted paper, but that isn't something that I have tried. Okay, let's do this bit too. And it would also help this look different to the bush. Well, I mean, it's obviously a different colour, but it will just stand out, sort of sit back actually rather than stand out. Okay, now we've got these flowers to do. What I'm going to do with these is get my Posca and splodge quite a bit of white around in these areas. And some of the flowers are a bit pink, particularly the ones lower down. Here, these look pinky. I didn't know whether to try and put a bit of pink pencil on top or not. I think I'm trying to go over the black lines a bit so it looks like I've coloured something in rather than it just looking like I've left it white. There's nothing wrong with leaving bits white, but I think some people don't always think it looks like you've tried. I had coloured once. I was showing someone a photo of a piece of colouring that I'd done, and it was a shed from In Secret Garden by Johanna Bastard, and the shed was coloured in really pale blue, and in the photo it didn't really show up, and the person just said to me, "Aren't you going to bother colouring the shed?" you know. And so now I get a bit paranoid about making sure it looks like I've actually coloured something. So that is the white bits. And oh, I'm going to put some white in the sky. I just want to eliminate these black lines. They don't look right to me. So I did this in the other Kinkade picture that I did. As I say, I'm not going to eliminate all the lines, but these particular ones I'm not keen on. And because it's quite a pale sky, the white will just disappear. We won't have to worry about colouring over it. You can if you want, but I feel it isn't necessary. Sorry, it takes a bit of concentration following a line. I'm not very good at following lines or staying in lines. A few in there too. Okay, so for me that's a little better. It's just an optional extra really for you to decide, and I definitely decided that needs a bit more work. I'm going to try and disappear that entirely, and definitely around the edge. Still think it looks a bit odd, but hey. Right, so they were much bigger in proportion to the size of that. But still, let's move on a little bit. I'm not going to do loads more in this particular video. I think we're going to have quite a few to get this one done. I might just do this bush and this tree. Now this bush to me looks greeny purple. There's a sort of purple haze across the whole of this dark backgroundy bit. What I think I might do is just use a very bluey green colour. We have this sort of ocean blue, which I think might work. And I just sort of, I don't know. Oh, it is a bit blue, isn't it? No. We shall be adjusting this in just a moment. That is not the colour. That is going to look nice on the old ocean. Ocean blue, who knew? I will put some green on top. I'm thinking the Jade Green. I've used this already. Whoops. Hopefully we can tone it down a bit. I'm putting quite a lot on. There we go, that's better. It doesn't look anything like that one. That one's quite pale, but I think it's okay. I think, let me see, how long have we been? Should we do this willow? Let's do this willow. Now it's quite pale green compared to that. What should we do? Let's start with a lighter green. What have we got? Yeah, the Matcha Green is quite a nice green. Oops. So let's do the whole of the willow with this and then decide. Now in the willow in the picture it's got bits of red and bits of blue, which is quite interesting, but it's also quite blurred, so it's a bit challenging. Oh, this is a lovely colour, nothing like the colour in the picture. But you know what, I don't mind. So if I do this willow, then I can call this video Sky and Willows. But we need another colour in here. So I'm going to go darker. I probably will just pick the Fern Green. But I'm going to sharpen up a little bit and do some sort of stripy detailing like on the other willow. Just because, you know, the tree has a leaf and draped long stems. So if I can do some lines, it might help to give that illusion a little bit that it's a sort of quite a fluffy tree, which I think is quite nice. There we go. I am going to leave it there though. I'm not going to add in, as I say, I'm not going to add in the red and blue that I can see. Okay, I'm going to finish there, have my cup of tea, and then come back and do Castle on an Island, a bit of water, and maybe we're sort of working down the page. So thank you for watching. I think that was quite a long video. I did have to stop it, so I don't know how long it's been really. But thank you for persevering and watching, and if you subscribe, then you'll get a notification when the next one's out. But it will just be tomorrow, probably, unless tomorrow's a Monday. Anyway, thank you for watching and happy colouring.